I was going to talk about reinvention, primarily because it has a lot to do with me, is that, because we live so long, we were supposed to be dead by 30. So we have to keep, making up, because we just go on and on and on and on. We have to make up these new lives. So the book is actually, this is so weird. Let me just, because I'm a female, we always apologize. That when I was in high school, I don't know if you have SATs here. Has anybody taken an SAT? Okay, what'd you get? Do you remember? Okay, I wish I could see your face. 475. Do you know, my mother took it back to school because it's lower than a house plant. That's real. And she thought the machine was broken. Oh, shut up. Always trying to get upstaging me. And then I got much lower in math. So I can't even say the words. I've been in analysis for 10 years to get over it. But anyway, so here's the weirdness, is that I just graduated from Oxford. Well, yeah, I'm getting my, I get the whole master's, do the head thing in September. I'm not doing that. But it just shows, and I want to go back to Evanston, Illinois, and go in my bat wings. Yeah. So anyway, that's just, if that's not reinvention, I mean, there was no chance this was going to happen. So I guess I'll tell you a little about how that happened, or what would you like me to talk about? Reinvention, or do you want me to talk about you, or do you want me to keep going? Oh, reinvention. Okay. Well, what? Oh, well, we could talk about my problems, and if you could help me out. Should I leave my husband? Should I stay with my... well, this whole reinvention thing, it's not so much I walked into it with open arms, because isn't it fun? Sometimes, well, you're all real young. I never thought I'd say that. And so am I. My children are actually older than I am. It's a miracle. So there's a point, and we have to acknowledge the change has happened. We aren't potty training anymore. You aren't 16. You aren't last week. It's always such a shock when you look in the mirror. Because it's inevitable, I mean, it's the only thing that really will be happening. Something I've done, I do a lot of things wrong, but something I always know when the party's going to be over. I have a real good instinct because I don't want to be the last to go. This is one of my features. So it surprises me in my neighborhood, W11. I'm jumping all over the place because I'm scatological. So you'll just have to follow me. In my neighborhood, there's all those mothers who are really surprised that their children left for school, for university, like they didn't know that was coming. So what I did is I knew that they were getting older, so I went to Oxford before they went to university, so fuck them again. So forward planning has a lot to do with reinvention, but sometimes, like in my TV career, which again was totally reinvented, in high school, they were doing Hello Dolly. There were 4,000 people in my high school, and I was the only person in the audience. Everybody got in. So I had no particular talent, but I had the drive of a Rottweiler, and so I came to England. I was never even good at acting, but I thought I have to get away from home. That's a whole nother story. My parents were more than dysfunctional. I used to describe my mother as being on all fours with 2 sponges in her hands and then 2 tied to her knees. She was completely absorbent. And she'd follow me around the house going, "Which civilized person brings footprints into a building?" So I decided to leave home. And I went to England, and then I thought, okay, I'll be an actress based on nothing at all. And then actually, this is the line I have from my show. I went into drama school in Glasgow because they were taking anything. And I did tongue exercises for 3 years. To get the English accent I have today. Thank you. Anyway, so, that was just to get out of Chicago, Illinois, but then I have this drive, which really works for me, but then really, it has a backwash. So all of you, who have real ambition, that's really good, but there will be a moment where it mows you down or drags you under. But really use it right now, because it does get you far. And then I decided I would get in the Royal Shakespeare Company, against, again, all odds. But Trevor Nunn really liked what I could do with my tongue. So, so then I went to the Royal Shakespeare Company for 5 years, and I met Alan Rickman, who said, you know, you're not a good actress, thank you, but you should write down when, you know, how you speak. So I said, okay. So I gave him 200 pages, and he found a play out of that garbage, and then I started writing shows, and he took care of them. He directed them. So that's how I ended up in television. Well, no, again, I had no talent in television, but they must have been on a coffee break or a tea break, and so I snuck in and got my own TV show. I mean, it literally was like that. Their heads were turned, I was in. No, there was a story how I got in, and it's not that far off. But anyway, then for 25 years, I did really interesting shows in the beginning. They let me do documentaries, which Louis Theroux, I've actually only been able to say his name recently, because people go, oh, your show's like Louis Theroux, and I have to stop myself from throwing up, because I did it 25 years earlier. I'm not bitter, okay? I've trained myself to not be bitter. So anyway, I did those kind of, you know, I became they made me a wizard in the AAA. I think I was the first Jew, but they didn't know that, to ever get the full pointy hat. And then I got to do really interesting documentaries. I mean, fantastic. Not so much, you know, exactly what I was, what the subjects were, not so much, I'm not talking about myself, but, you know, there were snake handlers in Alabama because they wanted to prove how much God loved them. This is actually a sect of Christianity, so they throw live boas at each other while you're listening to hillbilly music. And if you stay alive, it means God really loves you. So there was a whole bunch of people with like 2 fingers, and it was extraordinary. So those are the kind of TV shows I did, and that was just the greatest ticket on earth. And then they said one year, oh, maybe you should interview celebrities. And I know that's fascinating to a lot of people, but 1 year was enough. But then it became the age of celebrity, so 1 year became 2, and 2 became 3. And I'm not complaining. I know people live in, you know, work in coal mines, but sometimes when something doesn't fit, it gets really irritating, and it's not food for your brain. There's so many people that would love that job, but really after a while they're all the same when you flip them over. And the narcissism is just draining. But it's a great gig for some people, but I'm not that person. So I don't know if I walked away or I was pushed away. I don't think I should go back and look. But I think at one point I was auditioning for my own job. And you're desperate to hold on, you know, because you worked on it so many years, you know, so you're clinging because you think everybody else wants my job. Well, I then actually got quite ill, not because of that. I have mental illness. I have depression. So please don't think it's because I had to interview movie stars that I got ill. Please don't think that. That would make me one of the big wankers of this century. So I did get very ill, and then I said, okay, I'm going to start over again. And so every time you have these cathartic changes, it's always like a death. You know, that's why people, you know, take to hibernation. It does literally feel like you're dying, and you are in a sense, and then you have to be born again. With some people, I don't know, maybe they never come out, but it's such a jump. So when I came out, I thought I'll go back to school. And so I did. I got into, I became a psychotherapist, and I make a joke that all women, a lot of women who are going through menopause and realize that men will never hit on them again, suddenly decide to be psychotherapists. I say that in a loving way. It's so true, though. Or else start a home for stray cats, one or the other. But so I did do psychotherapy, and because that's what I did study when I was younger. I did go to Berkeley for a little while and studied psychology. So I found that interesting, but I wasn't good at it. I can't really sit and listen to people, though I did listen for 200 hours. And I think people who do that job are either angels or insane. But, you know, it wasn't me. So I went to UCL because I decided to study neuroscience. Now, where that came from, you know, all I ever did in science was take the frog and put it in somebody's handbag. You know, I just was not interested in this. But suddenly I thought, if you really want to know how the machinery works, you would have to go into the engine of the car. You can't just wave a crystal, you know, when you've broken down on a motorway. So I started to become fascinated. So I crashed a course at UCL, and I sat with all these 21-year-olds, and I told them I had a skin disease that made me look old. And they believed me until they found out I really was old. So, but they let me go to lunch with them, mostly because I had the car, and to discos, and I became friends with them. And then part of the UCL course, they went to Yale, but I sadly couldn't go, A, because I didn't know what I was writing down, and B, I wasn't on the course. And C, you know, well, it answers itself. So I thought, screw them, I've got to trump this card. So then I got into Oxford. So I'm okay. That's a whole nother story, how that happened. So anyway, I've just finished, and then this book's come out of it, and probably in 10 years I'm going to be tightrope walking. So, so I could go on about that, but they wanted me to answer questions. Did you want me to explain anything I might have missed out? Any areas you might think that was a little obscure? Or do you want me to explain how I got into Oxford? Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, that was the trick. So that was when I started to study psychotherapy and do UCL, I thought I do not want to have depression again, because I don't know, I'm not going to say hands up, though I could, is that I never told anybody I had that, obviously, because you'd be out of a job. So, and I never told any of my friends. And the only reason it became public is because Comic Relief, in their infinite wisdom, also give money to mental health charities. So this is 4 years ago. They asked if they could use my photograph, and I thought it was going to be like a teeny little stamp size one. But I went into the tube station, and there was a gigantic poster of me saying, "This woman has mental illness, please help her." I swear to God. And so I hurled myself in front of it, you know, as people were going by. And I thought, okay, I've covered. Then I went down the escalator, and there was another one and another, and it just kept going. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a show that makes that look like it's my publicity poster. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's, so I wrote a show, and I took it to mental institutions for 2 years, and I make a joke, if you can make a schizophrenic laugh, you're halfway to Broadway. And it was really rewarding, because it was a combination of learning it was partly the brain, which is my new book, but it was done in a comedic way so they could understand. And then also it was about the 1 in 4, but also about the 4 in 4, like all of our Malays. But certainly these people in the institutions really got it, and they knew I wasn't talking down to them, because they could see I'm one of them. And then I took it to the West End, and then I took it to Edinburgh, and then I've just been in Los Angeles. And next week I take it to Melbourne, and then I take it to New York. And the show keeps evolving. Now it is, and then I did TED Talks, which was all about the brain, because they're much smarter than I am, the neuroscientists, but the only thing I can do is twist it into comedy so you can understand it. And I do think it's the most interesting game in town. So the way I got into Oxford was certainly not from my UCL experience. I started to I didn't want to pay for shrinks anymore. You know, I thought enough is enough. You know, they've got my bank account now. And I don't want to always, you know, run to them to fix me. Because sometimes I'd leave them and I'd think I'd know who I was all the way to the tube station, and then I'd forget again. So I thought, no more. So there was a course called Mindfulness-Based Cognitive Therapy, which is not about sitting and putting a bindi in your head and, you know, worshiping an elephant with 2,000 arms. But it's a way of self-regulating your cortisol levels. And I looked up all the research, and, you know, there's empirical evidence how that works. And I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to study. And it became fascinating, because it is a kind of... for me, look, everybody else is going to have their own thing, but self-regulation is, to me, the zeitgeist and in the next 10 years, because obviously people don't have money for therapy, and we don't know what drugs do. So this is a way of kind of leveling yourself down, getting your heartbeat down. So in business, boy, is that when you're starting to get too stressful, if you can manage your own, well, you're actually using your own chemicals and kind of lowering them. So I did that because I thought, I'm not hitting a black hole again. This doesn't mean I won't have depression. It just means I can dodge the bullets next time because I can hear the little pitter-patter before it goes into the full tsunami. So I really found that interesting. And then Mark Williams, who's one of the founders of it, he was at Oxford, and so he personally taught me, did the 8-week course, which was a really nice thing. I think he saw I was in trouble. And I said, how do I study this some more? And he said, you can't, because you have to get a master's. And I said, well, where would that be? And he said, Oxford. So again, I got that Rottweiler thing going, and I dug up some of my old school records, but didn't show him my SAT scores. And then because I went to because I got the psychotherapy degree, and if you get 2 distinctions, you can call it a BA. And I do great interviews, so then I was in Oxford. And there were just 14 other doctors, and they'd look at me like I was a third kind. But, you know, I was there, so anyway, then we became friends, and some of them didn't pass. So anyway, the most error. So there you go. Okay. Oh, please. Well, that's it. Thanks and good night.